Hello, everyone, and welcome to Faith God Love channel. Today is Sunday, February, I believe it's the 25th. Yes, the 25th, 2024. And I will be going over another section in the Bible of the English Standard Version. So, welcome back. Glad to have you. And I hope you stay tuned. And as I read a few sections from the Bible for you. Today's section I will be focusing on, I believe it's 1 Kings. Let's take a look here. Yes, it's 1 Kings in the Bible. So if you're following along in your own Bible, and if it's the English Standard Version, that's on page 279 of the English Standard Version. As far as any other, Bible makes, you may have to look at the table of contents and then just go from there. Okay, so I'm just going to read a couple sections of 1 Kings. Kings has a total of, I believe it's 22 sections. 22. Yes. And then it will go on to the next major section. Okay, so I'm going to find a reading. Okay, I'm going to start with section 1. It says, David in his old age. That's the heading. Now King David was old and advanced in years, and although they covered him with clothes, he could not get warm. Therefore his servants said to him, Let a young woman be sought for my lord the king, and let her wait on the king and be in his service. Let her lie in your arms, that my lord the king may be warm. So they sought for a beautiful young woman throughout all the territory of Israel, and found Abishag, the Shunammite of Israel. Now, I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly, but if you want to read that over, sound it out yourself, you're more than welcome to. And then correct me if I'm wrong. All right. And brought her to the king. The young woman was very beautiful, and she was of service to the king and attended to him, but the king knew her not. The next heading says, Adonijah sets himself up as king. Now Adonijah, the son of Haggith, exalted himself, saying, I will be king. And he prepared for himself chariots and horsemen, and 50 men to run before him. His father had never at any time displeased him by asking, Why have you done thus so and so? He was also a very handsome man, and he was born next after Absalom. He conferred with Joab, the son of Zeruiah, and with Abiathar, the priest. And they followed Adoniah and helped him. But Zadok the priest and Benaiah the son of Jehoiada and Nathan the prophet and Shimei and Ray and David's mighty men were not with Adoniah. Adoniah sacrificed sheep, oxen, and fattened cattle by the serpent's stone, which is beside Enrogel, and he invited all his brothers, the king's sons, and all the royal officials of Judah. But he did not invite Nathan, the prophet, or Benaiah, or the mighty men of Solomon his brother. All right, so I'm going to end that section of Kings 1, section 1. I only read 2 main headings in that little section there. So I'm going to go ahead, carry on. Okay. I'm going to read section 3 here. It says Solomon's prayer for wisdom. Solomon made a marriage alliance with Pharaoh, king of Egypt. He took Pharaoh's daughter and brought her into the city of David until he had finished building his own house, and the house of the Lord, and the wall around Jerusalem. The people were sacrificing at the high places. However, because no house had yet been built for the name of the Lord, Solomon loved the Lord, walking in the statutes of David his father. Only he sacrificed and made offerings at high places. And the king went to Gibeon to sacrifice there, for that was the great high place. Solomon used to offer 1,000 burnt offerings on that altar. At Gibeon, the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream by night, and God said, "Ask what I shall give you." And Solomon said, "You have shown great and steadfast love to your servant David, my father, because he walked before you in faithfulness, in righteousness, and in uprightness of heart toward you. And you kept for him this great and steadfast love, and have given him a son to sit on his throne this day. And now, O Lord my God, you have made your servant king in place of David, my father. Although I am but a little child, I do not know how to go out or come in. And your servant is in the midst of your people, whom you have chosen, a great people, too many to be numbered or counted for multitude. Give your servant, therefore, an understanding mind to govern your people, that I may discern between good and evil, for who is able to govern this your great people?" It pleased the Lord that Solomon had asked this, and God said to him, "Because you have asked this, and have not asked for yourself long life, or riches, or the life of your enemies, but have asked for yourself understanding to discern what is right. Behold, I now do according to your word. Behold, I give you a wise and discerning mind, so that none like you has been before you, and none like you shall arise after you. I give you also what you have not asked, both riches and honor, so that no other king shall compare with you all your days, and if you will walk in my ways, keeping my statutes and my commandments, as your father David walked, then I will lengthen your days." And Solomon awoke, and behold, it was a dream. Then he came to Jerusalem and stood before the ark of the covenant of the Lord. It offered up burnt offerings and peace offerings, and made a feast for all his servants. Solomon's wisdom. Then 2 prostitutes came to the king and stood before him. The one woman said, "O my lord, this woman and I live in the same house, and I gave birth to a child while she was in the house. Then on the 3rd day after I gave birth, this woman also gave birth, and we were alone. There was no one else with us in the house, only we two were in the house. And this woman's son died in the night because she lay on him. And she arose at midnight and took my son from beside me, while your servant slept, and laid him at her breast, and laid her dead son at my breast. When I rose in the morning to nurse my child, behold, he was dead. But when I looked at him closely in the morning, behold, he was not the child that I had borne. But the other woman said, No, the living child is mine, and the dead child is yours. The first said, No, the dead child is yours, and the living child is mine. Thus they spoke before the king. Then the king said, The one says, This is my son, that is alive, and your son is dead. And the other says, No, but your son is dead, and my son is living one. And the king said, Bring me a sword. So a sword was brought before the king, and the king said, Divide the living child in 2, and give half to one and half to the other. Then the woman whose son was alive said to the king, because her heart yearned for her son, "O my lord, give her the living child, and by no means put him to death." But the other said, "He shall be neither mine nor yours, divide him." Then the king answered and said, "Give the living child to the first woman, and by no means put him to death. She is his mother." And all Israel heard of the judgment that the king had rendered, and they stood in the awe of king, because they perceived that the wisdom of God was in him to do justice. All right, so that's end of the sections for today, which was kind of an interesting way to determine, a situation where it's like your word against mine in a way, because you have these two women in the house. They both bared a child, but they were alone. And in order to determine who the real mother was, the king was actually very wise in what he did. He went ahead and basically dispelled who it actually was. That was definitely an interesting story so far in my reading. I would have to point out, and from the ones that I've chose from. I still have yet to read all of this section, but that is definitely, out of all the sections I read out loud, that was a very clever and interesting way to determine who was the mother there. Anyways, aside from that, I'm going to go ahead and bring out prayer cards in my next video. So if you want to follow along, stay tuned and you will see it shortly. I hope everyone enjoyed this little section or snippet of the Bible. I hope you continue on your own Bible journey this week, and wherever you find time or have time, continue on your journey and let me know how it goes or how it is. You can email me again, or send a prayer. Just keep everything kind and respectful. That's all I ask. And have a great week ahead. Take care.